So, before I speak on this topic and ask an important question to my listeners, I want you to keep in mind I'm over all this stuff that happened to me. I'm mentally over it. I'm just having physical problems. I'm having seizures. I have scars all over my body. When I walk out or go to walk to work or waiting to the bus stop, I have multiple seizures and I end up getting brain damage on the ground from getting waxed. I also have a lot of damage to the insides of my body from all the pill abuse that my mother forced upon me. But I am over the mental part of that. The physical, I'm not getting proper medical care, so I'm getting injured every year worse and worse. And I'm not too happy about being in extreme pain, getting injured all the time. I'm over the mental shit. I go to work. I love going to work. I love helping other people. But I do not love getting injured in the process thanks to my mother's actions. But here's the question I pose to you. Imagine that you are a child or a teenager or whatever age you want to imagine yourself at. We'll say age 7, 5 years old, something like that. You win a medal swimming, we'll say. You win a brass medal, a teacher or some staff member comes over and gives it to you. You try to share that with your parents. You bring it up to your parents. You say, look at this, I won this. And then you have the medal taken away from you. You're called a liar. You're told that it must be some African American kid's medal. And then they literally steal the medal and keep it from you. The question I ask is, as a child, what are you supposed to do about this? Now, I'll tell you what I did. I sat there and took it. When my mother used to whack me, hit me, drug me, take my stuff, mentally twist me, I would just sit there and take it. I would ask God, or please stop. I would ask her to please stop doing these things to me, and then they would continue. Do not try to get revenge. I've asked people questions that are similar to this. What would you do in this situation? A lot of them say, oh, I would chop them up. Oh, I would hit them. Oh, I would get back at them. That is not the right mindset. That will drive you insane and drive you to the wrong road. Doing what I did, sitting there and taking it, isn't good either. What I would suggest, now keep that in mind, the question is, when somebody is mentally, physically, or medically abusing you, what do you do? Somebody is twisting your accomplishments, somebody's putting drugs down your throat, somebody's physically putting their hands on you, somebody's making up stories about you and making you cry in your bed, somebody's taking your accomplishments and turning them into some fantasy. What do you do about this as a child? You speak up over and over. Now, I was doing this, but I also was a child, so I don't have much of a say, any rights, as well as somebody has full control over my body and where I go, and they have full control over what state I live in, things like that. But the only thing you can do is ask God for strength. You can sit there and take it quietly. You can get the beating. You can sit there and take it. But then you need to speak up. You need to tell as many people willing to listen about what's going on. And hopefully somebody will help you. But don't get angry. Don't try to get back at them. Don't pass this on to other people, because keep in mind, a lot of these people who are really messed up in the head, the rapists, the abusers, the people that beat their wives, the reason why they do that is because when they were a child, they got a beating. So now as an adult, they pass it on to their children. The reason why people have these actions where they do bad things is because these things happen to them. Same thing with sex. A lot of pedophiles or people that have sex with children, it's because when they were a child, they were raped. And that gets passed on. But that's because they're doing it to other people. They want to get revenge. They get mad. They get angry. You don't want to do that. You want to do what I did, but with the added part of speaking up more. Now, you might not understand what's going on with you, and that's where it gets difficult. But you can do what I did and sit there and take it, and at least God will be on your side. Pray for strength. Speak up to as many people as you know that might be able to help you, and just move on past it. you have to try to help other people to move past it too. Well, we'll say somebody beat you as a child. Now, I didn't get any serious beatings. I got hit with rulers, smacked around for no reason. I've had horrible things happen to me, but that's not where my PTSD comes from. But I've seen a lot of people that got hit, their eyes popped out, scars all over their body from their father, mostly foreigners who come and want Social Security. And the problem is that some of them end up violent individuals. You don't want to do that. No, what you want to do is help other people with their abuse. You can join different programs. You can try to become a therapist or a doctor. You also can run some type of therapy or volunteer your time. And by listening to other people who might be going through this, reporting it to the right people, trying to make a difference, you'll feel better about what happened to you. But first, you have to sit there and take it. You got to sit there and take whatever comes your way. In your life, you're going to have a lot of difficulties and problems. I don't care who you are. Life comes with problems. And you can't run away. You can't remain silent. You can't put it onto other people either. A common one I see is when people have difficulty, they'll try to push it onto somebody else. That's not right. It's not. You have to confront what happened to you. You need to speak about it. And you need to try to prevent it from happening to other people, and you'll feel better. And that's why I pose you that question. If somebody is twisting your mind, if they're hitting you with a ruler, if they're pouring drugs down your throat that you don't need just to shut you up, if they're giving you extra medicines, if they're taking away your hard-earned medals and then telling you that it must be stolen, it must be some other African American kids, or they're just diminishing your accomplishments, you don't have to get mad about that. You don't have to get back at anybody for it. All you have to do is sit there and take it and make sure you speak up. Make sure that you let people know what's happening, and you'll feel better. But you also have to pray to God for strength, and you have to move on. That's why I'm able to work a job and hear other people go through this and not break down, because I've moved past this. I make a difference in other people's lives that might be going through these things. I have God giving me strength. Doesn't make it right that what was done to me, but I know I sat and took it. I didn't drug them. I didn't hit them back. I didn't go and burn nobody's house down. I didn't act violent. Nope, I just sat there and let the drugs take over my body. I let my mother take my body away and take my health away. I sat there and I let my belongings one by one get stolen and taken. And I sat there and I reported this over and over to staff members, to my parents, to doctors, the Department of Health and Human Services workers. And it's a good thing I did do that. Because now as an adult, while getting the medical care I need, there are records, there's paperwork, there's writing that can be tracked down if I spent enough time and money doing so. Now, I don't have a license to go all over the place getting these records, but they exist. These reports, these writings, the DMH workers, the doctors, they exist. They just weren't used properly because nobody wanted them to be. But if I had got violent, if I had just went nuts and got mad because I was being abused and tried to get revenge on people for it, it would have never worked out at all good for me. Luckily, I went in and I just took it. I would sit there and take it, and then I ended up becoming a drug addict at the age of like 16, because that's how I dealt with it as well. I sat there and took it. I would tell people about it. They would go ask my mother about it or something like that. And then she would make up a lie or a story to dodge what was going on. Or she would move me from state to state to state, from town to town to town, from doctor to doctor to doctor. But if I had got mad, if I had got revenge, then I wouldn't have those records today to go back on. Also, things could have got much worse. God does not like it when somebody hurts you and then you hurt somebody else. That never works out for anybody. The best thing you can do if you're stuck in a situation like that and you're a child is you can sit there and take it and make sure to speak up whenever you get a chance. And I guarantee you, when you get older, speaking up and just taking it will help, because there'll be reports, there'll be records, there'll be a lot more to work with. no matter how much they cover something up, there's always some evidence that's out there. But if you take it out on other people, that doesn't help you at all. So keep that in mind. If you're struggling with some type of abuse or some psychological abuse or some type of medication abuse or some type of physical abuse, you don't have to stay there if you're an adult. You can move out whenever you feel like it, unless there's some death, like if you're, let's say, allergic to everything, or if you have some disorder where you're in a wheelchair or paralyzed, you might not have that ability to do that. If you're really disabled, like somebody chopped off your arms and legs, you might not be able to just bounce into a shelter. But if you're a healthy individual and you're past 18, I suggest you leave that abusive situation. You'll do much better right away. And if you're underage, if you're something like 10 years old or 5 years old, just hold tight. Sit there and take it, but make sure you're speaking up. Don't try to get revenge on other people. Don't get mad either. It's not your fault. Just keep that in mind. If somebody is hurting you, if somebody is pushing a narrative, if somebody is trying to do awful things to you, yes, it's not right and it's not your fault. Do not try to do drugs. Do not try to take it out on other people. The only thing you can do is sit there and take it, speak up to everybody you know, and then you pray to God that it gets better, and eventually at a certain age, you'll be able to move on. That's what I did. I eventually moved on mentally. I went off of all the drugs. I realized what was going on with me. I realized what my mother did was wrong to me. And I realized that I can't take responsibility for something somebody else does to you. If somebody else is beating you, that's not your fault. If somebody else is drugging you, that's not your fault. If somebody else is twisting you and doing messed up stuff to you and your property, that's not your fault. Just because I won a medal doesn't mean I did anything wrong. I went to the swim class as an orphan. I won a brass medal as an orphan. Those are all good things. I kept that medal with me no matter where I go as a reminder that I did something good. That's also a good thing to do. It also had my original name on the back of it, ZG, so it also was a reminder where I came from, the hard work I've done and where I came from. Now my mother wants to say I'm a thief. She wants to take away this medal. She wants to give the credit to some African American kid that has nothing to do with the situation. And then she wants to steal my property and belittle her child. Those are mistakes that she's making. You don't got to beat yourself up for it. You just have to sit there and take it and then tell other people about it. Even if they don't believe you, God knows it's true. You know it's true. And you got to speak up. You can't keep it to yourself, because these behaviors could get worse and your body or your health could get worse. Like I wasn't speaking up enough. Now keep in mind, I had a neurological disorder and problems explaining myself. I also had speech difficulty. I had a lot of speech. I had a lot of problems moving my body. I still have these problems today. But if anybody else is struggling with these things, don't take it out on yourself. Don't think that it's your fault. It's not. When people make bad decisions, things happen. And a lot of victims like me blame themselves. They do. I did it for years. I blame myself for what my mother was doing to me. And I shouldn't have been doing that. It was very wrong of me to blame myself. I did nothing wrong by winning that medal. I did nothing wrong by bringing that home. I did nothing wrong about wanting to show my accomplishments to my father and mother. Now, if they want to take my medal away, if they want to make up a lie, if they want to steal my property and then cause mental scars and screw me up in the head, that's on them. It might hurt me in ways, but that doesn't mean that I have a right then to take it out on somebody else. And it doesn't mean that I should take it out on myself either. That just means I should sit there and take whatever they're saying, tell other people about it, and then move on. And there's many other examples, like a full bottle of Epicac. A kid eating a mushroom outside. That's not great, but it's normal. Me repeating a phrase like, oh, I'm committing suicide. I remember I'm like 5 or 6 years old, and one of my family members walked by the week before and told me that was what I was doing. That's also very normal, repeating stuff. But does that make my mother's actions right to give me extra of a drug that can cause permanent damage to my body? Absolutely not. And for years, I blame myself. I blame myself for repeating a phrase I heard. I blame myself for being hungry and wanting to eat something. I thought I was given extra pills, extra medicine because I wanted to eat something, and I repeated something I didn't understand. So then I started just telling people what they wanted to hear. That was also bad. These things can mess up a child, but you need to know that it's not your fault. Being given extra drugs is not your child's fault in any manner. If your mother gives you extra drugs, I'm not talking about a doctor giving you pharmaceuticals and taking them as prescribed. I'm talking about pouring a whole bottle of Ipecac in a cup and forcing it onto your child, giving him triple, quadruple the dosage, max dosage of a medicine. That is not the child's fault in any manner, and nor should anybody give extra medicine to their child in that manner. These things have behavioral effects on your child as well. So, yes, I take full responsibility. My behavior wasn't great. I have stolen things. Even as a young child, I've told some stories like I'm Superman or something like that. When I saw the Harry Potter movie, I drew a lightning bolt on my head. I'm Harry Potter. We all do that. All children do that. But that doesn't mean you should beat yourself up because your mother's making stories about you or getting you hurt. You shouldn't. Keep that in mind. All you can do is sit there and take it, speak up to everybody that's willing to listen, and eventually things will get better. It is not your fault, and nor should you believe it's your fault. People make bad decisions and then they don't want to take responsibility for it. Also, people make bad decisions and then they want to hide it. When somebody steals a car, you think they're going around town telling every officer that they just stole a car? Absolutely not. They're going to hide the car in some garage someplace, and then when somebody asks them, "Have you seen my stolen car?" they're going to lie. They're going to manipulate. They're going to try to hide their mistake. That's just how people are. Not all people. There's people who are religious or people like me who believe in extreme honesty. I believe in being honest even if I get in trouble or hurt. If there's a gang member asking me a question, I give him the honest truth, even though it's not going to do me any good. If I told an officer of the law about a drug dealer, and the drug dealer came up asking if I said something to that officer, I would have to tell that guy exactly what I said to the officer. Whatever consequences come my way are fine because I'm being honest. I'm being truthful. And I have no intention of getting anybody hurt. I'm just trying to keep everybody safe. So it's okay to be honest, or you can just not answer the question. That might have been a bad analogy. But I call that extreme honesty, and I'm telling you, it gives you good luck. If you decide to do the right thing, even if you'll get hurt, it's okay because God will look out for you. If there's a guy murdering somebody with a board, if there's two guys caving in somebody's head, spending an hour killing somebody, if you put your life on the line, if you get up and tell them that they might want to stop because that man might die and the cops will come in, and you put yourself in between this victim and the murderers, that's okay. That's the right thing to do because you're stopping a murder. Even if you get hit, even if you become their next victim, you still need to do the right thing. If you have a cell phone, great, call the authorities. Try anything you can do to stop the situation. But if you have no cell phone, if you can't get the police on the way, if you can't do anything to fix it, then you need to put your own body on the line to make sure that nobody dies or gets murdered. There are situations where you got to be really honest, and you might have to pay a price for that. That's just God's honest truth. You really need to give to God's honest truth no matter what. And as long as you do that, you'll always feel good about yourself, even if you're in the hospital in extreme pain. If somebody hits you over the head with a board and robs you because you were honest or because you wouldn't sell their drugs for them, At least you did the right thing. Let's say somebody tells you, you either sell my drugs or I'm gonna fuck you up. And then you just sell the drugs anyways. You made a bad decision. So the right decision is to tell him, no, I'm not gonna sell your drugs. And if you wanna beat me up and break my bones, that's your decision. But there could be consequences from you doing that to me. And that's all you can tell them. You can be honest with them and say, no, I'm not going to sell your drugs. And if you want to hurt me, that's, well, that's up to you. I prefer that you don't, because if you do hurt me and I go into the hospital, that could cause more problems for yourself. And if you do that, 99% of the time, God looks out for you. And that's all you have to do. You just have to be honest, even if there's consequences for your honesty. See, a lot of people make mistakes and they just don't want to be honest about them. Then there's other people who literally just have normal everyday situations and they decide to lie or not be honest because they don't want to face what comes next. Just trust in God, pray for strength, and be honest no matter what. Make sure to do the right thing no matter what. Even if it costs you your life, it's your eternal life that matters. There is an afterlife, there is a God. No matter which religion you believe in, I can tell you there is a higher power. And your eternal life, your soul, is worth so much more than your body. If you get hurt, that's all right, because your eternal soul will be good, will be clean, it won't be injured. If you lie, manipulate, if you get other people hurt, your soul gets hurt. And no matter what happens, God knows what you're doing. God knows, exactly what you might be doing in life. If you're being unfaithful, if you're being harmful, if you're just being verbally abusive, if you're covering something up that you did in the past, God knows that. As soon as that thought in your brain comes to your head, I'm scared I might lose something, so I'm going to cover this up and double down on hurting somebody else. That's not good, because you are losing a piece of your soul, and that's not all right. I suggest sitting there and taking it, and then speaking up to the best of your ability. That doesn't mean you can't defend yourself. Doesn't mean you can't run away. It doesn't mean you can't do these things. And I mean physically running away from an aggressor. You shouldn't run away from your life or the things that happened to you. If somebody abused you, if somebody drugged you, if somebody did anything bad to you, you need to face it. You need to admit that it happened and then move forward. And if, as let's say somebody broke your arm in 3 pieces and then you're missing a finger, but you're kept in a basement. Well, then when you get out of the basement, you need to go find help. You need to say, this person, see this person took my finger and I'm broken, and you need to speak up about what happened to you. A lot of victims like me want to keep silent. They don't want to speak up about the traumatic things that happened to them. But that's not okay. You have to. You can sit there and take it, but then you also have to go afterwards and deal with it. You have to face what happened to you. You need to admit what happened to you, and you need to move on. And I highly suggest it, because if you do these things, as time goes by, it gets easier. But if you get angry or try to get revenge, it's not going to help you in any way. And if you just sit there and take the abuse and speak up as much as you can, there will be records of this. There will be a paper trail. And as you get older, you'll have more and more to be able to help yourself. And it's very important to do so, especially with a broken medical system. We have a broken society. So you've got to keep that in mind, that the more you speak up about these issues, the more likely you are to get the help you need.